sprinkling type fitting or something to use. But then I have 3 pieces of pipe. This happens to be 3/4 here and here, and I drill holes in them through the 1 inch and through the 3/4 at each of those points where they touch, and then I just get zip ties. I take those zip ties, and you know, what are those, couple pennies each, and you tie them together, and that's now the basic structure for the greenhouse. I then use my sun catcher kit, and we'll show you again, that lines all of the box around, and I take another 3/4 PVC pipe, pull the plastic nice and tight. The tighter the better, because the less it will give, the less it's going to go ahead and wear. And then you just lock the plastic down in place. This didn't have a door. The way it was, I just pull up that PVC pipe, and then I walk through plastic. By the middle of winter, that got really tired, so we now have a door, and we'll show you how to build that. But that's October.
Steve, our plastic pops out unless we have it drilled in, so what are we doing wrong?
Well, that's a good question. If you're using the small size hoop, the sun catcher that's only this tall, it just doesn't catch as much wind. If you put it taller, you're getting a lot of wind. So the next step to do is just have it nice and tight, and get a drill and a screw, and just make 2-3 places along the side there. Screw it down, it won't come up
And
anymore.
year after year, the plastic will hold up with that drilling.
That reinforced plastic, just, I mean, I've got holes in it in places, but it doesn't rip. All right, so it'll hold up real well. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else that's interesting to talk about. Let's go to the next page. So here's November, and that's what my garden looked like, except when I went in to harvest my salads. I just leave it like that, and maybe once a week I'd go in and cut some salad so we could have some lettuce so we'd have a nice salad. But I left the grow cover right over the top. I didn't come in and move it every day, and it grew just fine. It was protected, and everything worked well.
Are you still watering?
No water. No need for water. You know, you probably ought to check the soil and see if it's drying out, but that was never an issue. Let's see if it said anything else in there. So again, when I had all the radishes, we had all the lettuce, we had beets, we had some carrots, we had turnips, and that's what we did. And when we talk greens, all kinds of greens. Spinach is a great crop, so if you like spinach, and that's a real nice mild spinach again in the winter. Okay, next slide. January. This is a time, planning is really important. If you don't do some planning in advance and start thinking about and studying what things you're planting, you won't have as good of an experience as you could. If you're trying to get 3 and maybe even 4 crops in a year, you've got to be awful careful about timing, how much you're putting in, when you're putting it in, so you always have lettuce the whole year. You just don't have a lot of lettuce at one time and then nothing later. You want to have great lettuce all the time. So planning is really important. So I do something like this for each of my boxes, and I'll have 3 or 4 plans, depending whether I'm getting 3 or 4 crops in each box. And I'll try to plan based on how long it takes to go ahead and for a crop to mature when I'm going to put in the next one. For the winter and fall, the real cool season crops, I add a couple extra weeks, just because they don't grow as fast. And again, I'm using varieties, though, that are cold-tolerant type varieties. So this is my plan this year. So if you come over, you'll see all my greens planted on one side. The other side, I did plant some seeds sort of here in these spaces, so we could just see if they've come up by this week, so you can see if they've germinated or not. And then I've got my potatoes in over here, and I have one of the small sun catchers over that just to get a head start, to be able to get that first crop done in May. So here's the updated tunnel, and here's how we make it. You've seen how the outside works. Here's the materials for a 10 by 18 foot greenhouse. It's about 7 feet tall, so I can stand up in there. Today it was fun to work out there in a regular shirt. You didn't have to have anything else on. It actually started getting a little warm. But I used 3 of my sun catcher kits, and that's so I can go ahead and tie down all the plastic and tighten it down. There's other things you could use. I like these because it's easy, you can reuse them year after year. You could just get 1x2s and put the plastic down and nail or screw those in, and it's just more work trying to get them on and off. So I use the sun catcher. I then use the rebar at each of the places where the PVC pipe comes into the soil. I like deck screws. If you haven't messed with deck screws lately, Home Depot has boxes of deck screws for about $8, and they have their own types of drill bit heads, and they fit on really good and snug, so you don't, strip them or have them pop. They screw in really nice, and you can use them year after year. The plastic sheeting, Harrington Company is where you can buy it. It's reinforced. And you're welcome to go ahead and try real greenhouse plastic. I'd like to try it. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's a lot clearer. So you get more light, and in theory, you're going to get better production. But again, this stuff has lasted me 7, 8 years, and the greenhouse plastic only is rated for 3 years. And it costs a lot more. The PVC pipe, 1 inch and 3/4 inch, and then zip ties, and then that's about it. Excuse me?
You can schedule 40 PVC.
On the 1 inch, it is scheduled 40, yes. Yeah. The only time you don't want to use, if you can use the schedule 20, and all this stuff that you use in the road down, works just fine. And you really want to use it when you're doing the watering, so it's easier to drill. All right, the next one, next slide there. And this is the door. And this is, I was hoping President DeMille was going to be here tonight. He did volunteer to make everybody doors in his shop class there, but my son happens to be in his shop class. It's his favorite class. And I said I needed a door, and he built me this door out of 1x3s, and it's nice and sturdy. And I just built a frame out of 2x4s. And let's go back one slide. So page up. Here's the boxes, right? This is the boxes are really the structure for the greenhouse. That's what's giving you all the support. Okay, so when you go ahead and you run the PVC pipe into the side with the rebar, that's touching the box again. It gives you some support and structure. But right here in the middle, I've just put a frame for that door out of 2x4s. I don't know if you can see, but there's a support that goes back here and ties into the box again, so if I get those strong winds that are going towards the north, it's got a little bit extra support. And then once that frame's up there, we just build the 1x3 door that goes over it, and I just take the exact same plastic that I used on the front, and I wrap it around, staple it in place, put a couple of hinges on it, and a little handle and something to lock it in place, and I've got a nice door. Now I can get in and out of it as many times as I want in a day. So it's nice and easy. It's not airtight, but it just doesn't matter. You don't need to worry about it being airtight. You don't need to worry about it being drafts. This isn't such a neat structure. You're not heating it. If you were trying to heat it, you'd probably worry a lot more about it. You're just worried about the sun. Okay, the next slide then, back to the doors. The other piece the neighbor came and helped me with for all those carrots, Jim, our great neighbor, came through, and he built this little piece here with his drill that I could screw in place and then put right up to that PVC hoop, and now I've got it tied into the frame. And again, the whole thing in those strong winds like that, it doesn't even move. So it's really built nice and secure now. It doesn't move. Without it moving, you're not getting the wear and tear on it, and it's a nice solid structure. It's just notched. He used a drill bit on an angle so it fits in there like it was made for it. I mean, look, it was incredible. You can get my son to build doors. He says $30 a door and they're yours. I'm sure Jim for $5 a board will do those things too, but you probably can figure them out. So anyway, that's all there is to building that. So here's a greenhouse that can produce food for you year-round, and it's a lot of food. We're not talking just a little bit of food. You don't have to buy lettuce again. It doesn't taste like anything at Harmon's or wherever else you go, and it costs you, what, $3 a bag? That's expensive stuff, and for it not tasting any good, it's really, insult upon injury, right?